Traders, stop stressing over the S&P 500. Get structured daily outlooks, levels, and actionable setups for ES futures delivered before the market opens, plus weekly insights on crypto, stocks, and commodities. Subscribe today on Substack. Conquer the markets.
What's cooking, good looking? Welcome. It's the post-market breakdown. S&P Edge. I'm Ryan Bailey, your host, and we're going to get into the day. So the day was exactly as we anticipated, but my God, did they make it painful. What a slow grind up today. So we're going to get into it real soon. First and foremost, as usual, if you're not following me, please follow me across all socials, YouTube, Twitter, Substack, and even TradingView as I got indicators coming out. Ryan Bailey Edge, follow along, retweet, all that good stuff. Also in this post, if you look in the context of the post, there is a link for 30 days free of the trade plans. If you've never subscribed to the trade plans before or have not had a 30-day trial, definitely click on that, put your email in there. I'll get you in. It takes like 2 minutes and, I'll get you set up and you'll have trade plans in the morning. They are absolutely fabulous. I actually write these trade plans for myself. And these are my jam. So, and I share them with you guys. And if the levels are in there, I'm taking it. So been doing this a long time and I find that having a structured plan every day is how we make money. So, do this long enough, you figure out what works. So I've been doing futures for 10 years straight, ES mostly. And my God, what an adventure. So over the years, you just figure out what works, and what works is a plan. We were talking about it today. Somebody in the room was wanting to get systematic. And I said, well, the closest that you're going to get to systematic without actually coding anything is following the plan to the T, because the plan is set up to have high conviction, high probability trades. And as long as you trade the plan for what the plan is, you get the edge. It's when you start to be discretionary and trade around the plan, that's when we have the issues. And it was very easy to do that today, let me tell you, because we started the day off a little wild. They dumped from our same exact spot once again, the 68.61 spot. And, it kind of threw me for a loop. I was actually meditating. And when I came back in, we were like 40, 50 points lower and a huge spike down. So let's get into the trade plan and let's talk about it. We certainly, regardless of the news, we had this figured out. Like I told you, it looked like we were building value for a push higher. And we knew that the 61 spot was going to be a pain in the ass, but eventually we got over that hurdle today. So let's get right into it. So this is how we started the day here. And I believe that the title in itself was cue enough for everyone, right? We're coiled tight for a move, right? After a big trend, and the VIX tailwind breakdown. So we had some developing support, which we're going to go into so that you guys can understand exactly my concept on why this was a perfect call out for the support plays. And they ended up just getting ran through because they didn't meet certain requirements. So I want to talk about that. And we also want to talk about the VIX breakdown, which is underneath our daily at 1635. We actually popped again from that level this morning on that push down, and then they sold below it, and then they just went crazy with the indices today. So again, our current market context, we're pushing above our significant 4-hour, 1-hour level at 68.60. This is this morning. As of me writing this, we were literally at 61, I believe. And I was talking about how this created a lot of reactions over the week. In order to push higher, we have to break that. My default is long, right? Long trend, right? We're looking to ride this grind up. And we had extremely thin volume this morning. We came into the day with 48% negative relative volume. And so that's why I always warn people, like, listen, when we have real low volume, we usually will grind with trend. But if something kicks off, there's no market participants there to hold the market up. And so it's exactly what happened this morning. Is a little news from Microsoft regarding some AI nonsense. And, you know, they sparked an instant 40-point dumper on everybody. And that was because there was just nobody playing this morning. Eventually, market participants showed up in the afternoon, but, you know, it took a while to get people off their booty. So we had the extreme weakness in the VIX. Initially, this was our big tailwind for the indices as of me writing this. This was obviously way down. We had not spiked yet. And it's okay because it all worked out perfect when we follow our plan. So get right into it here. So this was the developing support. So let's start here. So this was right in the beginning. So this picture was taken after, obviously, because we already had the move down. But the 4-hour, 1-hour candle had the same closing time at 9 a.m. So I was talking about how there was developing support right here at 52. Right, this trade is only valid if we close above 61 on the 4-hour time frame at 9. If that happens, that creates a valid leg at 52. Well, you can clearly see that on this 1 hour, which would be the same closing time as the 4-hour, it did not close above that. And then they just dumped and they blasted right through 52. And then again, down here, we had the same instance, the suspect support. And the reason why I'm just skipping over this is because this was only valid if it was an overnight low. And at this point, you know, we did this move right before the open. So didn't, you know, it kind of invalidated this altogether. So the suspect 4-hour was the 68.26, which was this 4-hour down here. It's the same level we've been buying for days, right? Well, they never gained on the 4-hour. It was the same concept. We really needed to close above 61 to ensure that this could be a great level. It didn't happen. And what ultimately happened? Well, I think it's pretty obvious what happened here. We actually swept yesterday's low. So they actually invalidated this. What's funny is if you see my trade here, that my stop would have been set to yesterday's low. Well, if we would have taken this trade, they would have technically stopped us depending on how far lower you had your stop underneath yesterday's low. But because we had the signal that this wasn't a valid trade on the 4-hour, 1-hour close, we didn't have to worry about that. But what did we have to worry about? Now, that was a pretty ridiculous push down when we first started. So let's go ahead and get into this. So there you go. Check out our buy zone. So this was this morning. And I tweeted this as soon as it happened, right? So we had our confluent buy zone, the 18 through 22. It says, we know how important this level is. A sweep below yesterday's low at 18 and a reclaim of 22 is certainly possible. Well, guys, this was the low of the day. And we ended all the way up here today. So I would say that that was perfect. And that was really the only in-process long that we had today, because this move down wiped everything. And then they ended up moving up pretty hardcore. So this, we actually had the low of the day on this sweep. This was a fantastic call out. You know, but I'm going to shoot you guys straight. I didn't get this trade. Okay. You know, I'm here to tell you that I did not have like an awesome day. I had a banging day yesterday. I actually didn't take but one trade today, which we'll get into, because by the time I had sat down from meditation, we were already at, I don't know, 28 or something like that. And I didn't know what was going on with the news. All I knew is what I needed to let the dust settle a little bit before I got into this. So, you know, I hate sitting down at the chair and we're down 40 points or more. So that's how this rolled out. So this was the low of the day. Some guys in our room grabbed it. I wasn't sitting around to get it, so I didn't want to chase, but this was absolutely an awesome trade. So really, really nice there. This was the other part of the VIX context. So this is how, we knew that this was going to pop off. So this was in the very morning, and this is obviously after, right? So I could show you what it looked like prior, but you'll just have to take my word for it. We were sitting right here, basically. Okay. So VIX looks very weak. And of course, the breakdown, as long as it moves underneath the 1635, a push below this increases the tailwind for an up move in the indices. Well, this pop up off of here, for me, this had been just another liquidity pop. If you can see this to the left, they never even made a new high. So when they popped up and they swept the lows and we held the lows, VIX started to come down, kind of gave everybody the signal like, hey, this is going to be good. We just need to figure out where we're going to get into this trade. Okay. And then as you can see, once they finally did get underneath the 1635, it just flushed down, which was basically the excess push that we saw towards, the end of the afternoon session, which was pretty insane. So pretty good stuff. Here is, I'm going to talk about two things with you. So this happened 2 days ago. I took this trade. I called this trade out for everybody. We're going to talk about this trade. And then I'm going to tell you exactly how it works, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions or they don't quite understand, especially when I start talking about market profile or time price opportunity, TPO. Some people just kind of glaze over. So I wanted to go through this because this is the trade that I took as well. And I just think it's important here. So let me pull up the right thing here. Let's see, what do we got? Okay. So the 80% rule. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about what it is first, and then I'll come back to that. So I have talked about this a few times. I actually did a post on this actual setup. This is a high probability setup, guys. If you have not looked at this write-up, you should take a look at this. This is in my Substack. It's underneath the let's see, it's called the Pro Trader section. Inside the mind of a pro trader, it's right there. High probability setup, 80% rule. The way that you guys really should study this. This is a phenomenal setup. 80% probability is something that everybody should be taking, and everybody should know about it. If you don't use market profile for anything else, this is one thing that's worth it. Okay, so here's how it works. And I'm just going to show you how it works. So we're going to talk about from the long side right now. Okay, only the long side. All right, so it works the same way for the short, but for our example, today was the long. That's what I took, and I'm going to show you. Okay, so I missed the lows. I told you flat out I missed the sweep. I wasn't here. So now I'm looking for an entry to get in. Okay, so we had opened below the value area of the previous day. So the way this, let me give you the trade setup, and then I'll tell you how this worked out. So the idea is to open below the value area of the previous day. Okay, you still technically want to be in range, but you want to open below the low of the previous day. Okay, you want to move into the previous day's value area and spend 2 or more periods there. Okay, so you push up, and just to let you know, a period consists of 30 minutes. So each one of these letters that you see here represent 30-minute time periods. So this is 9:30, this is 10, this is 10:30. Right, D is 10:30 to 11, E is, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the way that this trade works is you want to open outside the previous day's value, push into the previous day's value, spend 2 or more periods, and then you have an 80% chance of making it to the value area high, the opposite value area high. Okay, so depending on where you get in, that's a great trade, because this was 32, right? Was the value area low, and the value area high is 52. Okay, so that's 20 points. Now, I'll just shoot you straight. This, for me, I didn't get the confirmation till around 36 or 37. So I was able to take this up into here. Now, this is a phenomenal trade, guys. I mean, really should, this is something that every trader should use, especially every day trader. This is an awesome trade, and an 80% win rate is great. So somewhere right around the 40s here, I was able to get in and take it up into 51. Which actually, let's just pull this up and take a look. So now I've given you essentially the blueprint on how this works. I've showed you where you can look at this article. It's under my free section. You don't even have to be a paying subscriber to see this. This is a great trade. Okay. So as you can see right here, the 80% rule was triggered. It's this yellow line, and here was the target. I believe by the time it was triggered, even though the value area was down here, we had the acceptance. We had to get the 2 blocks, and that was essentially at 40. So it was about, my trigger was about 8 points late, which was fine. But I ended up getting in, as you can see, and I let everybody know, guys, hey, the 80% rule was triggered, guys. So we were already struggling to, find a place to get in based on our process, right? So as you can see, I was in some of my ads here. I was at 42.75, right? And took it up, and I basically took it up into 51. Okay, so pulled 10 points off of that long. Certainly, given the fact that we had an epically long day and we knew we were going to grind with trend. Am I happy with 10 points? No, but I'm certainly not complaining, right? Some people struggle all week to get 10 points, and we're usually pulling hundreds of points a day. So this was not exactly, a rocking trade, but hey, 10 points is 10 points, and I'm happy there. So I started with 5 on, I took 3, and I ended up basically holding a runner for quite some time. And again, letting everybody know, this is the high probability trade. Guys, check this out. This is a big deal. It works for NQ, works for ES. This is something that you guys should be trading. So if you want any more information on that, check that, or, ask me, shoot me a DM. We can discuss it a little bit more. So here was one of the interesting things, and I kind of did this out of order. So because I'm a big value trader, which all you people know by now, I'm a huge proponent of the TPO. So this is the daily TPO, and this is the weekly TPO. And this actually, I posted this right before the 80% rule triggered. But this is truly like, we've been in balance all week. I know that you guys can see that. This is the weekly profile. We've literally been in balance all week. We closed here on the previous week, and we balanced here a little bit. So we just have been rotating back and forth, accepting value, waiting for the next move, which obviously at this point we're defaulting to trend, which is up, which, we started to accomplish today. But even with that being said, I was telling people we're sitting right at yesterday's point of control, which was right here, and the weekly point of control. This is the essence of fuck zone, right? We were dead in the middle, right? So when you're right dead in the middle of value, you have to, it's hard to pick a direction at that point, especially if you've noticed the past few days, we go up and down and up and down, and there was no continuation. So we don't know when there's going to be continuation, but what we know is that we were right in the middle of balance and right in the middle of what is perceived as value. And so it's hard to make a decision about execution at that point. One of the things that I teach everybody in the room is our edge is in the edges, right? Our edge is in the edges, and it's in our process. And if we're not in the edge, then we really don't have any, there's nothing special about this trade. Well, this was the definition of being no edge, right? But it just so happened that we did have the 80% rule that triggered, like I said, essentially directly after I posted that, which was very interesting. So it did allow everybody to get long and feel confident that this is going to continue to push higher. So good stuff. I liked that. And so here was kind of the final thought for the day. And as you guys know, we went up all stinking day. I mean, it was just insane. Like, let's go ahead and just pull up my 1 hour chart here. So this was our sweep at the low here. Let me close this. This is our sweep at the low here. We basically just, nudged that low, and we pushed up all day. There was no really back test or anything. They gave us one back test here at the lows that we could probably look at it on. Let me see. There we go. This was it right here. This is the one back test at the low, and they basically just ground up all day. We initially had a trade at 40. It was like kind of an in process, not really trade. It was VWAP. It was yesterday's close. It was yesterday's point of control. These are all areas that I like. But as you can see, we didn't get any follow through. We just came down and retested. It was the retest. I didn't expect that. I thought we were going to come down lower and I could get in. So unfortunately, we just kind of ground higher all day until we got up to our 68.72 daily, which ended up paying pretty nice, paid 12 points. I obviously didn't short that because I'm not in short mode right now. I'm only buying the dips, and this was tested, so I didn't want to do that, even though we knew it was significant. It's actually a monthly as well, which I just spotted. So going back to the hour, which is my true execution chart, you can see that this was actually a pretty tough day to get on this trade, especially from a higher time frame perspective if you weren't here at the lows. So I felt pretty lucky to actually get the trade like we did anyways. So let's go ahead and pull over this 4 hour as well, just to show you guys how insane this thing looks. So I know some of you guys use TradingView, and so this is going to look slightly different. You guys, TradingView has a different close times here, but once again, just came down and held our big 20 spot again and popped up. Now we have gained again on the 4 hour and the daily time frame. We are back above 61, 64. I have every reason to believe that we are going to continue to cook higher, and it will more than likely be a painful, miserable, slow grind up. We finished the day with negative 31% relative volume. Like I said, we started the day with negative 50. At one point in the day, we were at negative 10. So they almost got full participants today, almost 90%. And then we ended up today, to close back here. So people are just not trading right now because we are in a positive gamma regime. Okay. We are close to all-time highs. There is no volatility as far as news is concerned. And so, with dealer hedging position to the upside, this is pretty typical stuff, especially as we get just a couple of points off all-time highs. We have those really low relative volume, grindy days up. I mean, we are entering, holiday season. For those of you guys who, we just had Thanksgiving, people are still off and doing other things. I don't know how anybody makes any money during the holidays, but it's crazy. So just prepare and buckle up. We could have a continued, push higher as we continue to grind, right? So we do have an untested 4 hour 79.25, and this big weekly here at 83. If you guys recall, we called the smack from 83 weeks ago. I mean, we caught the down move too. Like, it's all here. The plans are fucking amazing. So here we are again. If we pop over 83 and ultimately 72, as you see, we're kind of bumping our head on, but that's not really the one I'm like uberly concerned about. I'm more concerned about 83. If they push past 83, we will more than likely continue our cruise higher towards all-time highs. And we still have this massive bullish imbalance all the way up here at 69.36. So, unfortunately, I'll say this, unfortunately, they didn't give us a whole lot to buy, but here was my final thoughts for the day. And I think that you guys could agree. And this was straight from the trade plan. We're calling tight with low volume. It could be a very slow, grindy day, and defaulting to trend up is always the right move. And I believe everybody who traded today probably experienced that, and especially those people who were on the short side who kept thinking this has got to be it. This has got to be it. This has got to be it. They just ground their ass to a halt. So it was a tough day for everybody, including myself. I don't like sitting doing nothing. I mean, I'll admit that, not being in a trade is absolutely a position, right? Saving your capital, whatever. But you sit here all day and it's like, you want to do something, right? And nothing. I didn't do nothing, right? So other than that one trade, I kind of sat on my hands, which was a little disappointment. But hey, listen, we had a great day yesterday, and we save our mental capital. We save our bullets for prime A+ setup. So that is all I got for S&P. Now, because we still got 7 minutes, I wanted to share a few things, okay? So I had some people in the room ask me to share a few things. Plus, obviously, I want to boast a little bit. So let's turn this on. Let's see. All right. So here is our Bitcoin trade, right? We've talked about Bitcoin lots. I told you guys I was buying 82.50. I bought 86, I don't know what it was, 86.250 and 82.750, something like that. And we're on a path to 100 grand, guys. I mean, that has been the mojo. I did a publication on it. I've been talking about it in here. We're headed to 100 grand. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, I did a full write-up on this. You can actually go to my YouTube channel right here, S&P Edge. Check it out right here, the road to 100K. Right. So I was buying down in there, and everybody in the room was buying down in there. This is pretty good so far. So, the day that we had the big crypto scare, it was like, they dropped 10% in one day or whatever. Man, they were just coming down to test the leg. Check this out. Look at Bitcoin on iBit. Literally, they fell all the way down, tested this leg right back up. I mean, just crazy talk. So the process is winning once again. And I do believe we're going to see this 100K. We could even go higher, but this is the ultimate target for now. And then, let's not forget, I was buying ETH down here too. We told you guys I bought 26.50, and then the other day I bought 29.50 on ETHA, which is the ETF. And, I'm trying to get to 34, 3,500. This thing is cruising, right? Check it out, cruising. So we're winning. So much winning. Okay. Yeah, I got one more for you. I got one more. Hang on. So here's the other ones. So you guys know I'm in both of these, but this is the one I'm most excited about. We talked about Oracle a few times. I actually did a post on that as well. You can check that out in the room. And we've been talking about this. This is a fantastic monthly, weekly level. I'm in this right now from between 200 and 204. This, I liked it at 250, and so I didn't buy it. So of course I'm going to buy it at 200. I think this thing's got some legs to it, but we'll see. This thing looks like she's about to blow, which I hope she does. I actually want to hold this one. I think this has got the ability to make new highs from here. I haven't really charted any of the upside, but 250 at least. I know analysts are talking about this thing's worth like 3 something or other. 341. That's like new highs. So, we'll see what happens. I'm planning on holding this for a while. I think it looks pretty sexy right now. And that was a great freaking test. Loving that. Maybe I'll peel some off up here, but I don't think so. I was wanting to buy here before, so I don't think so. I think I'm just going to sit in this. I'm in a good enough price right now where, I think this is good. I mean, we're all the way back in April's price, actually January. So, this thing pulled back a lot. Look at this. Let's see. 45%. That's quite healthy. Okay. So enough of that. Enough winning. We're doing it. So I had somebody ask me about something particular that they wanted me to share in the room. So I'm a big statistics guy. Okay. Like huge. For me, that's what trading is. Okay. Trading is all statistics, right? You have your setups, you have your process. That process, the foundation of your process is built on statistics, right? Which is ultimately back testing. So, if I take this setup 100 times, it's going to win 65% of the time. And my R is this, right? So I've been developing my process over the past 10 years since I've been trading ES full time. And it's incredible, right? So I know that my process is cemented into statistics. Well, everything else goes along with that, right? So I just showed you guys the 80% rule. Again, another statistic, right? If that trade happens, we have an 80% chance of hitting that. Of course, I'm going to take that, right? 8 out of 10 times I'm going to win. Of course, I'm going to take that trade, right? So that is how essentially, all systems are built. Now, people trade discretionary and they fuck everything up, obviously, because they let their brain get in the way. But if you trade the process and you have a statistical advantage, that's how it works. So any professional knows that. So with that being said, I am huge on statistics. There was Rob hooked me up with a company called Convergent. They put out statistics, which are pretty awesome. They show, ranges and how often the overnight highs and lows are swept and IBs and all that stuff, right? So, I'm loving that. And it was like $60 a month, which I think is fine, right? You could actually pay for it, a couple times a year and get the information you need. But, and I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not even supposed to be doing this yet, just to let you know. I was contacted by a company called Edgeful, and they gave me like all of their juice on this thing here. And I think I'm going to end up being an affiliate for them just because I actually like the data that they're giving here. It's really solid. They're going to be happy that I'm doing this right now. But so here's the deal. And this is the same thing. So I'm huge into statistics, right? And so I posted these in the room for everybody and told them to pay attention. And this is specifically designed, or not designed, but what I'm chosen here for my report is the ES. You can do all the stocks, you can do all the futures, everything. This is such a robust platform. It's called Edgeful. If you guys are really interested, let me know. I'm going to try to get a deal, get a discount from these guys so I can give them to all my peeps, because I think people in the room would love this. And obviously I'll put it on the website and let people have access to it. If they give me a better deal than we can get retail, I got you. Okay. So for me, the important information here is this type of stuff, right? So, I'm always looking at probabilities. We've talked about a couple of them today. So right now, this is the overnight range breakout. So we know as soon as the market opens at 5 o'clock or whatever, that we have Globex open, right? Which is either the high or low of the session. And then when we open, it's either the high or low of the session. So we've got all night to kind of move around. Well, there's always a statistic there that says you're going to break one side so many percents of the time, or you're going to break both sides, or you'll break no sides. So here you go. 74% of the time, they do a single break of the overnight high or low. Okay. So we know right away, coming into the day, the bell rings, we have a 74% chance that the overnight high is going to get broken or the overnight low get broken. Now, so when you see one side get broken and you think, oh, they're going to do a full reversal, and we're going to go the other way, and we're going to go even farther. Well, there's only a 16% chance of you breaking the overnight high and the overnight low. It's called a double break. So a lot of times if we have, and I'll just use it, guys, hear me talk about this in the room all the time. If we're bullied up, right, we're going, boom, we pop the overnight high and they pull back. I already tell them, okay, listen, I'm looking to buy here because we've already broke the overnight high. So the probabilities of us breaking the overnight low are relatively slim. Well, they're obviously very much in our favor. If we broke the overnight high, there's only a 16 or 17% chance that they're going to break the overnight low as well. And so this gives you just another reason to have conviction in your bias. Okay. And for me, it's also two things. One, I know a side's going to get broken either way. So now I'm looking, right? Okay. So now my target is, I'm short. My target's the overnight low because we haven't busted an overnight high or low yet. I'm taking profits at the overnight low, right? Now, so now they pop, and do I want to raise short? Well, let me see. I doubt they're going to get to they're going to take the overnight high out. Sure, I'll short this area of resistance. So that's how I use this to my advantage, okay? Now, they have another one that I actually monitor quite frequently as well, and this is actually, I was paying conversion for these two statistics alone. So here you go. This is the initial balance breakout. This is the same exact concept, except for it's the first hour of trading, right? So the first hour of trading is, is basically 9:30 to 10:30. We get the initial balance, right? So a lot of people play initial balance breakouts, whatever. For me, it becomes a target. Okay. So right here, you can see that 69% of the time, 69.5% of the time, this is based on the last 6 months of data, that they do a single break or they breach one side of the IB high or low. Okay. 70% of the time, right? And to do a double break is 30% of the time. So again, now imagine you broke the overnight high and you've broken the IB high when you're long, right? And you're waiting for a pullback to buy and you're worried about them dumping in your face. The probabilities are not there. Okay. Now I'm not saying it can't happen. Clearly double breaks happen 30% of the time, but you can lean with the probabilities in your favor this way. And the chances of getting a no break are very, very slim. So, this is, as you're sitting here in a trade or in a day and you're like, we're just stuck in a very tight, small range, right? The chances of them not breaking the initial balance one side or the other is less than 2%. So you can almost always shoot for one side or the other based on the direction that you think, the asset's going to move or trend or whatever, right? So for right now, it's always long because that's just what it is. So I hope that makes sense for you. So the other one I didn't look at, let me look at this here real quick. Is this it right here? I'm curious. This is all new data. So 12% of the time they don't break either side. Interesting for the overnight high or low. So this is really cool. What I like about this is you can pick your ticker, your asset, whatever you want, right? And then all kinds of different reports. And then I can change how much data I want it to pull. So I'm just pulling the past 6 months because, the regime, the market's been wild. We've had insane ranges. And so I was a little bit more concerned about the actual data that, was using. So again, I'm not an affiliate for them yet. This is just awesome data I thought that you guys could use. I'm more than likely going to get in bed with these people. I don't know what kind of relationship they actually want me to promote them every single day on my stream. I don't think I want to do that. So we'll figure it out. We'll talk about that. But long story short, this is a very powerful program. I suggest you check it out. And like I said, if you can wait a couple days, I will more than likely have some free trials and some discounts. So that's what I got. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. We talked about the trade plan and how it worked out well. We talked about the sweep of the lows and essentially just sticking to the process. And tomorrow we will wait for, again, another high conviction setup. So we also talked about this edge full, and really the statistics that matter are the two that I pay the most attention to. I've also given you guys details of exactly how the 80% rule works with the profile. I showed you exactly how I trade it, which is literally the trade I took today, and what you need to look for and how that works. So not only did I show you where you can look for the information in my publication, but I also showed you firsthand exactly how to trade it. So I hope that really helps you guys. And for those of you guys who follow me in Bitcoin, ETH, and now what's the other one? Oracle. That's what's up. All right. So we're getting that money. We're doing our thing. So you guys have a fantastic night. I will see you tomorrow. And for those at same time, same channel, for those of you who are in the trade plans, I'll see you at 8:30 in the morning to get that trade plan out to you. And don't forget, if you have not signed up, check out the link in the bio. It takes you to a landing page. Put your email in there. I'll get you signed up. All right. Have a great evening. Talk to you guys later. Cheers.